Most people who think about Antarctica think about white, about ice and silence and nothing that bleeds. They are not thinking about the glacier that has been bleeding since 1911, or about the century of explanations that turned out to be wrong, or about what was finally found sealed inside it, something that had been locked away from the surface of this planet for longer than our entire species has existed. There is a waterfall in East Antarctica that runs the color of blood. It has been running continuously since the first human being ever saw it. It was found in 1911. It was not explained until 2017. And what the explanation revealed about what is sealed beneath Antarctic ice may be the most unsettling thing science has confirmed in a century of studying this continent. There is a brine pool under the Taylor Glacier that has not seen sunlight in approximately 1.5 million years. The water inside it is 3 times saltier than the ocean. It flows at -6 degrees Celsius without freezing, and it contains living organisms that have survived in complete darkness, with no oxygen, no surface contact, and no light, for longer than the entire recorded history of our species. This is the story of Blood Falls, a wound in the ice that bled openly for 106 years before anyone understood what was bleeding or why. To understand what Blood Falls actually is, you have to understand the McMurdo Dry Valleys, the largest ice-free area in Antarctica and one of the most extreme environments on Earth. In a continent defined by ice, the dry valleys have almost none. The surrounding mountains block the flow of glaciers, and the katabatic winds, cold air rushing downhill from the interior, are so dry and so fierce that any snow that falls here evaporates before it can settle. The result is a landscape of exposed rock and dust that looks more like Mars than anything else on Earth. It is into this landscape that the Taylor Glacier descends, and from a crack near the glacier's terminus, something dark red pours continuously into Lake Bonny below. Griffith Taylor was the Australian geologist who first recorded Blood Falls in 1911 during Robert Scott's Terra Nova expedition to Antarctica. Taylor was methodical. He was there to do science. He wrote down what he saw, took measurements, and moved on. He attributed the color to red algae, microorganisms that tinted the ice. That explanation was accepted. It was repeated in textbooks. It became the official position. As I examined the subsequent research timeline, what stands out is not the original misidentification. That is understandable given the technology of 1911. What stands out is how long the wrong answer was left in place. For 106 years, Blood Falls was officially classified as an algae phenomenon. No systematic attempt was made to trace the source of the flow. No borehole was drilled to investigate what lay beneath the glacier above it. No sample analysis of the emerging water was published that questioned the accepted explanation. The red water simply kept flowing, and the textbooks kept calling it algae. In 2017, a team of researchers from the University of Alaska Fairbanks used a combination of tracer hydrology and radio echo sounding to map what lay beneath the Taylor Glacier above the falls. What they found was not what the algae theory required. Beneath the glacier, sealed under the ice, was a substantial reservoir of ancient brine. Salt water so concentrated that it remains liquid even at -6 degrees Celsius, a temperature at which normal seawater would freeze solid. The source of the brine is approximately 1.5 million years of geological isolation. When the Taylor Glacier advanced over this region more than 1 million years ago, it sealed a pocket of ancient seawater beneath it. The seawater could not escape. Over the following 1 million years, as the glacier compressed and shifted above it, the trapped water became increasingly concentrated, the freshwater component freezing out while the salt stayed behind, producing a brine far saltier than any ocean on Earth. The red color is not algae. It was never algae. The brine is extraordinarily rich in iron leached over 1 million years from the bedrock below. When that iron-rich water finally finds its way to a crack in the glacier and emerges into contact with Antarctic air, it oxidizes instantly. The same process that turns a nail left in rain to rust, happening continuously at the surface of a glacier for more than a century without anyone tracing it to its source. But the iron is not the most significant thing inside that brine. Living inside the 1.5 million year old sealed reservoir in complete darkness at below freezing temperatures with no oxygen and no surface contact of any kind, researchers found microorganisms, not dead, not fossilized, alive. A community of iron-oxidizing bacteria that had been sustaining themselves in total isolation for longer than our species has walked the Earth, using chemical reactions rather than sunlight to generate energy. No sunlight, no oxygen, no surface contact, 1.5 million years of complete isolation, and life nonetheless. The implications extend far beyond Antarctica. The conditions inside the Taylor Glacier brine pool are remarkably similar to the conditions believed to exist beneath the ice of Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, and beneath the frozen shell of Enceladus, Saturn's moon, which is already known to be venting material from a subsurface ocean into space. If life can survive for 1.5 million years in the sealed darkness beneath Antarctic ice, the question of whether it can survive in the sealed darkness beneath the ice of other worlds becomes considerably more difficult to answer with confidence. To understand why the microbial life inside the brine matters beyond Antarctica, you have to understand what it means for biology to have survived there at all. The conditions inside the Taylor Glacier Reservoir represent what scientists call a polyextreme environment, a place that is simultaneously extreme in multiple ways that each individually would challenge most life on Earth. The temperature is below the freezing point of water. The salinity is 3 times that of the ocean. There is no oxygen, there is no light. There is no connection to the surface ecosystem that drives almost all life on Earth. And the isolation has not lasted for years or decades or centuries. It has lasted for approximately 1.5 million years. In that environment, the iron-oxidizing bacteria found in the Bloodfall's brine have not merely survived. They have established a stable, self-sustaining community. They have evolved metabolic strategies that use the chemical energy in iron rather than the solar energy that drives virtually all surface life to power their biological processes. They have become, in effect, a biology that runs on geology rather than sunlight. That is not a curiosity, that is a proof of concept. It is evidence that life, once established in a sealed subsurface environment, can maintain itself indefinitely without any of the inputs we associate with surface-based biology. Without warmth, without light, without contact with the living world above. The 1.5 million year seal was not a death sentence. It was, apparently, survivable. Here is what remains unexplained. The brine reservoir identified in 2017 is large enough to sustain the flow of blood falls indefinitely, but its full extent has not been mapped. The microbial community living inside it has been identified in sample form, but no comprehensive survey of the reservoir's biology has been published. The connection between the Taylor Glacier Reservoir and the broader subglacial hydrology of the dry valleys is still being studied. And the question of how a waterfall that bleeds continuously, openly, visibly for more than a century, could go unexplained for 106 years in one of the most studied environments in Antarctic science has received very little attention. 106 years, the same falls, the same red color, the same glacier, and no one drilled down to check what was beneath it until 2017. Is Blood Falls a window into what life looked like on Earth before oxygen existed? A preserved sample of ancient biology that survived exactly because it was sealed away from every change the surface world went through in the last 1.5 million years? Or is it the closest thing we have to a preview of what may be living right now in the sealed darkness beneath the ice of other worlds? Worlds we have not yet reached, in oceans we have not yet found, beneath surfaces we have only just begun to map. Until someone fully surveys what is sealed beneath the Taylor Glacier, the honest answer is that we do not yet know what Blood Falls is showing us. And the most extraordinary part is that it has been showing it to us openly since 1911. If the things hiding in plain sight, the ones that bled for a century while the textbooks looked the other way, are the kind of mystery you want more of, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.